Translations. Pop music. From Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. This article is about a specific music genre. For popular music in general, see popular music. For other uses, see pop music, disambiguation. Pop song redirects here. For other uses, see pop song. Pop. Stylistic origins. Traditional pop, 1. Rock and roll, 2. Folk, 3. Cultural origins. Mid-1950s, 4. United States and United Kingdom. Derivative forms. Disco. Contemporary R&B. New wave. Subgenres. Art pop. Brill building. Bubblegum. Dance pop. Electropop. Operatic pop. Orchestral pop. Progressive pop. Sad pop. Sophisti-pop. Sunshine pop. Teen pop. Wonky pop. Fusion genre. Baroque pop. Country pop. Cowboy pop. Dancehall pop. Emo pop. Folk pop. Hypnagogic pop. Indie pop. Noise pop. Pop punk. Pop rap. Ambient pop. Pop rock. Power pop. Psychedelic pop. Space age pop. Synth pop. World beat. Regional scenes. Austria. China. Colombia. Hong Kong. And etymology, edit. David Hatch and Stephen Millward define pop music as a body of music which is distinguishable from popular, jazz, and folk music. 5. According to Pete Seeger, pop music is professional music which draws upon both folk music and fine arts music. 3. David Boyle, a music researcher, states pop music as any type of music that a person has been exposed to by the mass media. 6. Most individuals think that pop music is just the singles charts and not the sum of all chart music. The music charts contain songs from a variety of sources, including classical, jazz, rock, and novelty songs. As a genre, pop music is seen to exist and develop separately. 7. Therefore, the term pop music may be used to describe a distinct genre, designed to appeal to all, often characterized as instant singles-based music aimed at teenagers in contrast to rock music as album-based music for adults. 4. 9. Pop music continuously evolves along with the term's definition. According to music writer Bill Lamb, popular music is defined as the music since industrialization in the 1800s that is most in line with the tastes and interests of the urban middle class. 10. The term pop song was first used in 1926, in the sense of a piece of music having popular appeal. 11. Hatch and Millward indicate that many events in the history of recording in the 1920s can be seen as the birth of the modern pop music industry, including in country, blues, and hillbilly music. 12. The Oxford Dictionary of Music states that the term pop refers to music performed by such artists as the Rolling Stones, pictured here in a 2006 performance. According to the website of the New Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians, the term pop music originated in Britain in the mid-1950s as a description for rock and roll and the new youth music styles that it influenced. 2. The Oxford Dictionary of Music states that while pop's earlier meaning meant concerts appealing to a wide audience, since the late 1950s, however, pop has had the special meaning of non-classical music, usually in the form of songs, performed by such artists as the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, ABBA, etc. 13. Grove Music Online also states that, in the early 1960s, the term pop music competed terminologically with beat music in England, while in the US its coverage overlapped, as it still does, with that of rock and roll. 2. From about 1967, the term pop music was increasingly used in opposition to the term rock music, a division that gave generic significance to both terms. 14. While rock aspired to authenticity and an expansion of the possibilities of popular music. 14. Pop was more commercial, ephemeral, and accessible. 15. According to British musicologist Simon Frith, pop music is produced as a matter of enterprise, not art, and is designed to appeal to everyone but doesn't come from any particular place or mark off any particular taste. Frith adds that it is not driven by any significant ambition except profit and commercial reward, and, in musical terms, it is essentially conservative. It is provided from on high by record companies, radio programmers, and concert promoters, rather than being made from below. Pop is not a do-it-yourself music, but is professionally produced and packaged. 4. Characteristics, edit. The Righteous Brothers, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin', 1965. Music grew out of a light entertainment/easy listening tradition. 18. Pop music is more conservative than other music genres such as folk, blues, country, and tradition. Many pop songs do not contain themes of resistance, opposition, or political themes, rather focusing more on love and relationships. Therefore, pop music does not challenge its audiences socially, and does not cause political activism. Frith also said the main purpose of pop music is to create revenue. It is not a medium of free articulation of the people. Instead, pop music seeks to supply the nature of personal desire and achieve the instant empathy with cliché personalities, stereotypes, and melodrama that appeals to listeners. It is mostly about how much revenue pop music makes for record companies. 19. Music scholar Timothy Warner said pop music typically has an emphasis on recording, production, and technology, rather than live performance, a tendency to reflect existing trends rather than progressive developments, and seeks to encourage dancing or uses dance-oriented rhythms. 15. The main medium of pop music is the song, often between 2.5 and 3.5 minutes in length, generally marked by a consistent and noticeable rhythmic element, a mainstream style and a simple traditional structure. 20. The structure of many popular songs is that of a verse and a chorus, the chorus serving as the portion of the track that is designed to stick in the ear through simple repetition, both musically and lyrically. The chorus is often where the music builds towards and is often preceded by the drop, where the bass and drum parts drop out. 21. Common variants include the verse-chorus form and the 32-bar form, with a focus on melodies and catchy hooks, and a chorus that contrasts melodically, rhythmically and harmonically with the verse. 22. The beat and the melodies tend to be simple, with limited harmonic accompaniment. 23. The lyrics of modern pop songs typically focus on simple themes, often love and romantic relationships, although there are notable exceptions. 4. Harmony and chord progressions in pop music are often that of classical European tonality, only more simple-minded. 24. Clichés include the barbershop quartet-style harmony, i.e. 2, the, I, and blues scale-influenced harmony. 25. There was a lessening of the influence of traditional views of the circle of fifths between the mid-1950s and the late 1970s, including less predominance for the dominant function. 26. Development and influence, edit. Technology and media, edit. Bing Crosby was one of the first artists to be nicknamed King of Pop or King of Popular Music. 27. Verification needed. In the 1940s, improved microphone design allowed a more intimate singing style and, 10 or 20 years later, inexpensive and more durable 45 RPM records for singles revolutionized the manner in which pop has been disseminated, which helped to move pop music to a record/radio/film star system. 28. Another technological change was the widespread availability of television in the 1950s with televised performances, forcing pop stars had to have a visual presence. 28. In the 1960s, the introduction of inexpensive, portable transistor radios meant that teenagers in the developed world could listen to music outside of the home. 28. By the early 1980s, the promotion of pop music had been greatly affected by the rise of music television channels like MTV, which favored those artists such as Michael Jackson and Madonna who had a strong visual appeal. 28. Multitrack recording, from the 1960s, and digital sampling, from the 1980s, have also been utilized as methods for the creation and elaboration of pop music. 4. During the mid-1960s, pop music made repeated forays into new sounds, styles, and techniques that inspired public discourse among its listeners. The word progressive was frequently used, and it was thought that every song and single was to be a progression from the last. 29. Music critic Simon Reynolds writes that beginning with 1967, a divide would exist between progressive pop and mass/chart pop, a separation which was also, broadly, one between boys and girls, middle class and working class. 30. The latter half of the 20th century included a large-scale trend in American culture in which the boundaries between art and pop music were increasingly blurred. 31. Between 1950 and 1970, there was a debate of pop versus art. 32. Since then, certain music publications have embraced the music's legitimacy, a trend referred to as poptimism. 32. Stylistic evolution, edit. The 1960s British invasion marked a period when the US charts were inundated with British acts such as the Beatles, pictured 1964. Throughout its development, pop music has absorbed influences from other genres of popular music. Early pop music drew on the sentimental ballad for its form, gained its use of vocal harmonies from gospel and soul music, instrumentation from jazz and rock music, orchestration from classical music, tempo from dance music, backing from electronic music, rhythmic elements from hip-hop music, and spoken passages from rap. 4. Verification needed. In 2016, a scientific report study that examined over 464,000 recordings of popular music recorded between 1955 and 2010 found that, compared to 1960s pop music, contemporary pop music uses a smaller variety of pitch progressions, greater average volume, 33, less diverse instrumentation and recording techniques, and less timbral variety, 34, Scientific American. John Matson reported that this seems to support the popular anecdotal observation that pop music of yore was better, or at least more varied, than today's top 40 stuff. However, he also noted that the study may not have been entirely representative of pop in each generation. 34. In the 1960s, the majority of mainstream pop music fell in two categories: guitar, drum and bass groups or singers backed by a traditional orchestra. 35. Since early in the decade, it was common for pop producers, songwriters, and engineers to freely experiment with musical form, orchestration, unnatural reverb, and other sound effects. Some of the best-known examples are Phil Spector's Wall of Sound and Joe Meek's use of homemade electronic sound effects for acts like the Tornadoes. 36. At the same time, pop music on radio and in both American and British film moved away from refined Tin Pan Alley to more eccentric songwriting and incorporated reverb-drenched rock guitar, symphonic strings, and horns played by groups of properly arranged and rehearsed studio musicians. 37. A 2019 study held by New York University, in which 643 participants had to rank how familiar a pop song is to them, songs from the 1960s turned out to be the most memorable, significantly more than songs from recent years 2000 to 2015. 38. Before the progressive pop of the late 1960s, performers were typically unable to decide on the artistic content of their music. 39. Assisted by the mid-1960s economic boom, record labels began investing in artists, giving them the freedom to experiment, and offering them limited control over their content and marketing. 40. This situation declined after the late 1970s and would not re-emerge until the rise of internet stars. 40. Indie pop, which developed in the late 1970s, marked another departure from the glamour of contemporary pop music, with guitar bands formed on the then novel premise that one could record and release their own music without having to procure a record contract from a major label. 41. The 1980s are commonly remembered for an increase in the use of digital recording, associated with the usage of synthesizers, with synth-pop music and other electronic genres featuring non-traditional instruments increasing in popularity. 42. By 2014, pop music worldwide had been permeated by electronic dance music. 43. In 2018, researchers at the University of California, Irvine, concluded that pop music has become sadder since the 1980s. The elements of happiness and brightness have eventually been replaced with electronic beats, making pop music more sad yet danceable. 44. International spread and cross-pollination, edit. The story of pop music is largely the story of the intertwining pop spread throughout the world and have come to constitute stylistic common denominators in global commercial music cultures. 47. Some non-Western countries, such as Japan, have developed a thriving pop music industry, most of which is devoted to Western-style pop. Japan has for several years produced a greater quantity of music than everywhere except the US. Clarification needed. 47. The spread of Western-style pop music has been interpreted variously as representing processes of Americanization, Homogenization, modernization, creative appropriation, cultural imperialism, or a more general process of globalization. 47. One of the pop music styles that developed alongside other music styles is Latin pop, which rose in popularity in the US during the 1950s with early rock and roll success Richie Valens. 48. Later, as Los Lobos garnered major Chicano rock popularity during the 1970s and 1980s. Musician Selena saw large-scale pop music presence as the 1980s and 1990s progressed, along with crossover appeal with fans of Tejano music pioneers Lydia Mendoza and Little Joe. 49, with later Hispanic and Latino Americans seeing success within pop music charts. 1990s pop successes stayed popular in both their original genres and in broader pop music. 50. Latin pop hit singles, such as Macarena by Los Del Rio and Despacito by Luis Fonsi, have seen record-breaking success on worldwide pop music charts. 51.